And we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break Podcast. It's a snack pack, everyone. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Lakers Fast Break. Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week, twice a week, wherever you get your podcasts. Also, as well, of course, go ahead and join us at Inside Sports Fantasy Football. Got a great episode that you can check out on the winners and losers of the recent NFL draft. Plus, if he shows up, go ahead and check out Joe Soro, who I'm hoping he'll show up because he said to do it at 10. So I'm doing it at 10. I will ask you this, though. Go ahead and make sure if you have not changed your lawn into something much better than it is today, please do so with Simblades. Simblades with a Y.com. Plus, also, he is Oxide247 at LakersBall.com. Also, of course, our good friends, I must give them a shout out because cheap plugs is what I'm all about. Please go ahead and make sure you catch the Lakerholics crew of Laker Tom and Jamie Sweet. You know Laker Tom at Laker Tom on Twitter, at Lakerholics.com. You know he's already started with his fantasizing, his reading of the purple and gold tea leaves, believing everything that the Lakers do is great. I'm just paraphrasing, mind you, but it seems like it is. Thank you so much, Daniel, for subscribing. Truly appreciate it. Please go ahead and check out the guys at the Lakerholics crew at the Lakerholics.com site. Also, as well, of course, John Costa's Clutch Talk and Lakers Corner. Also, as well, of course, my good friend Stone Hansen at report_court. Of course, also as well, Daniel Barry Sports Highlights. Yo, who dropped in $2 on the super chat. Thank you very much. It is greatly appreciated, as always. Imagine if we had Brunson on the team. Go Lakers. Yes, we would still be playing right now, I believe, if we had Brunson. That kid's got heart. Why is he not on Team USA? It just blows me away. You've got old guy after old guy after old guy, and yet you got the guy that's in the top 5 in MVP voting not on Team USA as of yet. I have a feeling Grant Hill, in his lack of wisdom that he did in making up the team, will find a way to get Brunson on the team. If Brunson's feet, because that was an issue today, hold up to head over to Paris. So I suspect one of the players that are on the team now will drop out. So I'm assuming Brunson will drop in there. Please go ahead and check out Daniel Barry Sports Highlights on his channel. Also as well, the John McCalian channel. Also as well, Lakers in 5 and Empire Jeff TV. Support all these great channels and please support us right here. Most importantly of all, right here at the Lakers Fast Break. It is truly appreciated and truly needed. We are getting closer and closer, inching ever so close to 1,600 subscribers. And hopefully we will be able to do that as soon as possible. We are targeting 1,600 before the free agency happens. And hopefully we can even get it by draft time. So that is up to you. If you've got a Lakers fan out there in your life that is not yet subscribed, please tell them to do so right here at the Lakers Fast Break. Well, the Lakers still making some slight news here and there as the NBA playoffs continue to go on. Of course, as I mentioned, Brunson had a tremendous game today once again, even though he left in the second quarter with foot issues. But my God, that kid, he's got a lot of heart. As the Knicks, even with OG Anunoby fighting off an injury himself, those two were able to go ahead and get enough going. And Indiana, man, they just cannot play defense. They can score like heck, and at times it really clicks. Like they went on an 11-0 run that just looked absolutely fantastic. It just reminded me of the old days with Paul Westhead about how when it really clicks, it really works. But you see the problems, though, with that type of basketball. If you're not any good on the defensive end, it will really show. And unfortunately for the Pacers, they go back to Indiana with a 0-2 deficit as the New York Knicks got out a 130-121 victory tonight. Props to them. I know the Knicks fans are happy. You know, Knicks fans are always happy in those rare times the Knicks are actually contenders in the Eastern Conference. So definitely, looking forward to seeing if they can go ahead and continue their winning ways. But yes, Brunson, My God, if you're Dallas, Frank, telling you, Frank, if you're out there, my friend, you gotta be scratching your head. What happens when you guys let him go out of Dallas? Should have never let him go out of Dallas. But what can I say? You guys made up for it by getting Kyrie Irving, and you still have a chance to go ahead and compete with a victory tomorrow. It'll tie things up, and we'll see if that happens at Oklahoma City with the Dallas Mavericks right there for you. But it is Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much again for watching, listening. Today was an interesting day as far as the back end of the roster is concerned. And that is because Christian Wood has picked up his player option for next year. I know that you guys, it's so funny because you look at it from this year to last year when Christian Wood was, speculating he might go somewhere, might go to the Lakers. We had it out there. Lakers in 5 had it out there. Empire Chef TV had it out there. All these Lakers sites had it. Where's Christian Wood going to go? Like he's this big time player. Where's Christian Wood to go? We did an episode the day we that the Lakers signed Christian Wood. Got it well over 1,000 views on YouTube alone. People were excited. People thought he was the missing key. He was the missing answer to all of our questions. And so, unfortunately, it did not play itself out as such. He averaged, 6 points, 5 rebounds in the 17 minutes he averaged over the course of the season. Yeah, Alan, I think there's a lot of egg on a lot of people's faces. I was about it. Sean was the one that was really on the ball. He was the one that said this was not a good move. Joe, Laker Tom, they were reading the tea leaf and they were just really wanting him to go be part of the team. Thought he would be a missing piece that the Lakers would need, and they needed that type of player in theory, but unfortunately it did not work itself out. And again, he does have that option to pick up. So for now, he has picked up his option. Again, whether or not the Lakers move him in a trade, we'll see. But he did pick up his option for, I believe it was $3 million if we're talking about that. And I will go ahead and I'll confirm that for you here. But that led me to think about for tonight's show. What happens if let's say Cam Reddish picks up his player option? Maybe some other players do or do not. Some go on to move on to free agency. What would you see as far as restructuring the bench? The bench supposedly, and I fed into it too. You know what? I drank the Kool-Aid on that one. And it looked like to me that this bench was supposed to be something that the Lakers could get behind. And I really thought that they could go ahead and do some damage coming off the bench, but they turned out to be one of the worst benches in all of the NBA. So as Christian Wood goes ahead and picks up the final year on his contract, and also having some issues, as Bleacher Report put an article on the same day that he commits to picking up this player option, Bleacher Report talks about Christian Wood denying domestic violence allegations made by his ex-girlfriend. So that could get messier and messier. What will happen as far as the Lakers reserves are concerned? How do we need to restructure it? Who will stay and who will go is the subject for today's Lakers Fast Break snack pack for you. And here today to discuss that very thing, it's a good man indeed. He is a little tardy, but he had his communication issues solved. It is, of course, our good friend indeed. It is, of course, the man behind Simblades, Simblades with a Y.com, and of course, Oxide247 at LakersBall.com. It is Joe Soro. And Joe, great to have you here. Christian Wood, to our tremendous delight, and yes, I'm being facetious when I say that, picked up the final year as far as on his contract, to absolutely no one's surprise, because he was piss poor last year, got injured, and What a better way to go ahead and help you heal when you can pick up a $3 million plus contract. So I ask you, my friend, let's start off with Christian Wood. Christian Wood picked up his contract. Cam Reddish may do the same. There are some players that are going to go out and take their chances. I think Jackson Hayes will go back into free agency and maybe a couple others as well. But when it comes right down to it, Joe, this vaunted bench that so many of us bought into, including myself, and I will make the mistake of saying that, bought into this season, this bench turned out to be one of the worst in the NBA. What needs to go on? Who needs to stay and who needs to go when it comes to the Los Angeles Lakers reserves?
Who needs to go or who needs to stay? I'd say no one needs to stay. If it was up to the Lakers, at least that's how I would look at it. The real question is who decided to give someone like Christian Wood and Cam Reddish the decision to say, yeah, we'll get the call in the end here on whether we get to stay after a amazing season that they had, right?
Mm-hmm.
Another interesting,
Yeah, it's just over 3 million, everyone.
an interesting contract gift that good old Rob Pelinka has given guys that probably shouldn't have gotten. It's not good. It's not good either way. Again, Cam Reddish is probably, I would say, one more team away from playing in Europe.
I think it's also the fact that they had to do it differently than Phoenix did because there's certain salary cap ramifications if they did it the way where they offered another year to the player as opposed to what Phoenix did where they just gave them a 1 year straight up on virtually everyone. I think there's different scenarios, benefits and advantages if you did that, Joe.
What is that? What exactly is the advantage?
I just think I think the fact that as far as it does not count as much on your cap. I think as far as what I think,
and you're thinking that's why.
I think that's probably why that they were offered, as opposed to what we saw in Phoenix, where because they were so financially strapped, they could only offer them just the 1 year on most of the players, and that's it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you want to give guys like Christian Wood and Cam Reddish more than 1 year, honestly. Salary cap or not, now you're stuck with two players that didn't really contribute hardly anything this year. And if you think they're going to contribute next year, well, good luck.
Good luck. Yeah, I know.
I'm not really here to sit and talk about the salary cap. I don't think Laker fans are thinking about salary cap issues or luxury tax issues. This is LA Lakers, the most popular basketball team probably ever in sports. And when you're talking about saving a couple bucks or worrying about a couple bucks, it's just not going to fly. The Lakers need to hit in the draft. Should they keep their trip? Should they keep their pick? And they have to hit in free agency with the exceptions they have. That's their only hope to making the bench really, really good. They're not going to have any kind of trade that's going to work out this summer that would make it work. I don't think the Lakers have anything to give to get a viable bench guy unless they're probably doing somebody a favor by taking a huge contract away. I just don't see how the Lakers can get help depth-wise unless they hit on areas that they're allowed to go and get somebody, which is the draft and the mid-level exception and things like that. Gabe Vincent having a better year next year, maybe.
I mean,
sure.
he has to play 10 games, Joe, during the season and hit more than 5 threes, and that's technically a better season than what he had this year.
Yeah, it's just. I know the NBA in general right now, especially the good teams, Denver's having issues with it right now. That's a lot of the reasons why Minnesota's kind of pounding on them right now, besides the fact that I think Minnesota's a better team. But when you don't have depth, it puts more strain on the team, puts more strain on the starters, especially towards the end of the year. And right now, Denver's feeling that right now. They don't have that Bruce Brown type character that's coming off the bench that can kind of carry you a little bit during the year and not run guys down. You have another year where you were playing deep in the playoffs, or at least getting to the second round and beyond. You play some teams that are hungrier at this point. Denver was hungry last year. Minnesota looks hungry right now. The Celtics look hungry. They don't have a lot of depth either. It's okay. I'd say better than Denver, but not that much. So the Lakers are kind of in that same boat because they are investing a lot of money in 2 players and 3 players sometimes for a lot of these teams. So how are you going to pay? How are you going to pay for depth? The NBA is going towards that. We're going to try to keep guys at home, the team that drafted them, things like that. Well, most of those guys, the reason why they're going to stay home is because they're getting more money than they're going to get more money with that team than they would if they leave. Either it's a super max or whatever it is. But the problem is the salary cap's still a salary cap. If they're not able to, get much after, let's say, a couple of max contracts, then everybody's going to pretty much have that same issue unless the timing of everything is correct. Much like how Anthony Edwards in Minnesota right now is only making $13 million. Next year goes up to $35 million. Now things are going to start changing structurally on that team. You're talking another $22 million that's going to the same player. And do they lose the depth after that? Do they try to lessen the salaries so that they don't get to the second apron, first apron, or luxury tax situation? And it's Minnesota. It's not LA. It's not New York. It's not Miami. You don't know if these guys are going to be able to afford to pay that much. So it's a lot. It's a lot to think about. It's a lot to wonder, but it's really not. The Lakers are never likely going to have depth as long as they're paying Anthony Davis and probably what they're going to pay LeBron here soon for the next couple more years. Between him and LeBron, you're looking at $100 million. So now that leaves you, what, $60 million in salary for the remaining 13 guys? If your general manager can't seem to pick any talent anywhere on top of that, and you're paying a bunch of schleps most of that money, that makes it even harder.
Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is Joe Soro along with me, Joe Glassford. Thanks so much again for watching and listening. We're going to keep it Lakers talk, cool bro. So please, if you're hurting, go see a doctor or a medical professional to go ahead and get some treatment so you can file charges on the bully that smacked you upside the head. Let's end it. We're ending it from there. We're going to talk Lakers because we're going to discuss Lakers, please. It is, of course, the Lakers Fast Break. Joe, I want to ask you this. Let's take a look at the roster as far as the reserves are concerned. In fact, I think the Lakers, one of the things they should focus on is trying to build themselves a better roster in order to have Austin Reeves back as a sixth man coming off the bench. Because I really think, as I've said on numerous occasions over the course of the past 2-3 years, I think that's probably where he fits best in a championship or even playoff rotation, is a sixth man coming off the bench. Your thoughts, first off, on Austin Reeves before we get into the player by player reserves on whether or not they should stay or go.
Well, if Austin Reeves is coming off the bench, that means you have 2 viable starters that are better than him. And if you have that,
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. They should focus on trying to find.
Yeah, we've discussed this the last couple of years. His best position would be sixth man. He'd probably win a few of them out of that sixth position. But the Lakers would need to find a starter in the draft or through free agency. And I don't know necessarily if that's possible with this regime. We would have to see it. We would have to see how that plays out. Gabe Vincent could have a better year next year and make a difference a little bit, but I don't believe he's a starter. Max Christie is a restricted free agent this year.
He is a restricted free agent. He is a 2.4 buy-in by the Lakers, so they could, if they want to go ahead and retain his services, they have a $2.4 million buy-in to retain, not necessarily sign him, but to at least offer at that him to him as a minimum. If they
And,
offer 2.4 as a minimum to him, they can go ahead and try to retain his services.
okay, so if they retain him, will he be better than he was this year?
He's
Is he
23, so you tell me.
is he getting is he going to is he getting did he get better this year than he did the previous year? Does it matter if he did? Unfortunately for Max Christie, I don't know if his skill set isn't good enough. I don't know if it's just the team not putting him in the right positions. At the end of the day, that's not good questions to ask. This is NBA. This is the NBA. NBA talent will always show itself no matter what. Uh, Unfortunately, I don't think Max Christie has the talent to really be a rotational type player, game in and game out. It looks like it sometimes, but more often than not, it doesn't. And that's this. There's no time to wait. The Lakers are not in a position to wait for that. Waiting is just done. The Lakers, if they bring back LeBron James and have Anthony Davis on this team, they have to be in win now mode, and they need the right guys, just like the Lakers need the right coach. Whether that becomes a reality doesn't look very, very likely, but we're going to cross our fingers and see if it does happen. There's just not much, guys. The system is set up for the teams to struggle to be better. You have to struggle before you get better. If you notice, very few teams can just be good and then revamp right away. They have to stink at some point before they kind of turn it around, and that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, and that's why a lot of people want this thing to start over. Because if they're going to continue to just be a play-in team and get 7 and 6 seeds, and be out in the first or second rounds, what's the point? And that's a valid concern. This is supposed to be a winning it all type situation, and if it's not, then at some point you got to start over. And how are you going to do that? I'm afraid of that, because I'm afraid that the current, I don't know even know what to call them, current people in charge, I don't know if they're capable of building a team, because they've made great decisions in certain areas, but they've mucked it up by letting people go, trading them for nothing, and then revamping the team with terrible trades that set the team back pretty much the last few years.
Jeremy, I'm looking at me right now. I have the YouTube feed on another tab here, so we're up and good. I don't know what's going on. Maybe you have to refresh your browser. I do know that we went on a couple minutes late because Joe had a call he had to take, so I do apologize for that. But I give you the link right there in the chat for the YouTube feed right there. So hopefully that'll alleviate things, or if you refresh your browser, it'll be good. Yeah, Alan says he sees us, so I think we're good. You may have to just refresh it. But once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. All right, cool, bro. May the force be with you too. It is, of course, Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much again for watching, listening. Truly appreciate it. But Joe, okay, let's go ahead and start nailing this down. Okay, obviously, again, we have to, or it's in our best interest to find some sort of starting lineup that allows the team to bring Rui and Austin Reeves off the bench. That would be my preference. But the thing is, you have to find enough talent to do that, and I'm not sure.
Yeah,
that's the hard part, Joe. I agree. I'm just telling you what a preference is.
You're basically saying, okay, well, we need these guys off the bench. Okay, now you have to replace 2 starters and possibly a starting point guard that might not be on the team.
Yeah,
it's not good. It's not looking good.
And I don't think they can do it. I'm just saying they should do it, because Rui and Austin, I believe, are 6-7 guys. If they were your 6-7 guys and you had a strong enough starting rotation, would you feel better about that?
I don't think that's a question. That's a good. It's an obvious question. That would be yes.
Yes. So there you go.
Yeah, but that's to any team. If you took 2 starters that were not bad actually, starters, but put them on the bench and added two players that were better than those guys, yeah, of course. It's just not It's just not realistic with the salary distribution that you have right now,
Yeah.
or will be having soon.
So let me ask you this. Okay, let's take a look at the roster as far as who the Lakers can go ahead and keep or not keep. I'm going to have you give me your thoughts on that right now. Let's start off with everybody's favorite, the guy that was a starter for most of the season, whether we liked it or not, Taurean Prince. What are your thoughts on Taurean Prince about trying to make any effort at all to retain his services?
I don't mind having Torian Prince back at a reasonable price. I
Okay.
think him playing 20 minutes a game wasn't too bad. Wasn't a bad.
He made about $4.5 million last year.
Yeah, that's
Probably
fine.
what you got. That's probably
Yeah,
the value of what you got last
yeah,
year.
I'd say that's good. I think there was some that were hard on Torian because Darvin Ham didn't really use him correctly the first 3 quarters of the season.
Mhm.
Uh, but Torian Prince has value. He is a threat in certain areas that are important in basketball. One being behind the arc, the other having the ability to get to the basket. Every now and then he'd get to the basket and make difficult shots. I think if anybody was treated unfairly all year, it was probably him. I didn't think he was that bad of a player, but I think
Just in his spot,
he was
when
put
he
in
was
he was put in
starting.
a position by a inept coach, and we took it out on him.
Yeah.
Torian Prince is not a 25, 35 minute. He's not a 25 to 35 minute player.
Mhm.
The only way I'd say he'd be that player is if you have 4 starters that are just so dynamic. He's the guy that's the Devin George of the starting 5 in 2004, right?
So if you
Remember
bring him
Gerald?
back about $4.5 million again, the mid level, you wouldn't be opposed to that.
No, I wouldn't. No,
Okay.
no.
Okay. Let's go on and ask the question about Jared Vanderbilt, who was about $4 million himself last year, but he did sign an extension, a 4-year extension last year. And as soon as he signed on the dotted line, he had foot problems. And then later on, he had his ankle issues that kept him out a great chunk of both seasons. He had the first 3 weeks he came back in the middle of the season, he was absolutely terrible, absolutely abysmal. But the last 2 weeks he was playing before he hurt his ankle, the Lakers finally found a way to utilize him on both ends of the floor. Your thoughts on retaining Jared Vanderbilt? Now, mind you, again, the next 4 years on his contract are 10, 11, 12, and 13 million.
I think I've seen enough of Jared Vanderbilt, and his contract is somewhat valuable in terms of a package and a trade. And I would highly recommend him being in that package in the summer if you were to trade for something.
I would have done that yesterday, the week before, the month before, Alan. I would have traded that, Vando for Caruso any day of the week.
I don't even. I'm trying to gather my mind on why the Bulls would do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Guys, stop Laker Tomming everything, please. I think a blind, deaf, non-NBA fan would be able to make that trade,
Because
or would
remember,
do that trade.
at $4.5 million, Joe, having him good defender, terrible offensive player, almost a non-factor on one end of the floor. It's not such a bad thing at $4.5 million, but at 10, 11, 12, and 13 million in preceding years, or in following years, excuse me, it becomes a little bit more noticeable, my friend, when he's only giving you 2 to 3 points a game, shooting around 20% from behind the arc at 3-point line. He's giving you virtually nothing on one end of the floor.
Availability is the greatest ability you can have as an athlete. That's really being available, being there, and then your talent is a 1A. Vanderbilt is not available. He's not particularly really that good in terms of overall basketball skills. He has certain skill sets that are valuable in that he can play some defense and get in the passing lanes and has some length, but other than that, he can't shoot to save his life. Which is if you can't do something on offense, no matter how good you're on defense, it's just not going to work in today's NBA. And worse than that, he's not available. So I would highly recommend to find a way to move that contract and hopefully move Gabe Vincent as well this summer. Ideally, I'd like to see the Lakers re-sign D'Angelo Russell and then maybe package those three guys for something if they indeed want to go into the upgrade mode, because I think that's the only value you're going to be able to get put together and have a chance of getting talent back. The talent that you're going to get back is going to have to be a redo of a team's philosophy. Let's say Atlanta's like, look, this thing's not working with Trae Young. Let's go send him out. Or it's going to be somebody like Jeremy Grant that Portland needs to get rid of the contract. Those are two, it's the only two ways the Lakers are going to be able to get an impact player back.
JSJ, hold that thought, because that's actually a good question. We actually talked about it the other day, but we'll go ahead and explain that a little bit more as far as Paul George here in a second. But Gabe Vincent, who you talked about, Joe, just now, he is 10 million, 11 million, and 11.5 million. Actually, 10.5 million, 11 million, and 11.5 million over the next 3 years, Joe. For a guy, again, with a bad knee, that's probably not going to get better. He's probably going to have knee issues consistently over the course of his career, who gave you 6 games, I think, roughly, just about as many threes, including what he hit in the playoffs. And yeah, it's just, however feisty defense he gave you against Jamal Murray, that's $30 million over the next 3 years, Joe.
Yeah, and of course, Rob Pelinka's amazing decision-making in terms of contracts. Most of these guys seem to have player options. I think Hood Shafino is the only one that has a team option after next year. Everyone else seems to have. D'Angelo Russell had a player option, but he's not picking it up. LeBron, player option. Anthony Davis will have a player option in 2028. Austin Reeves has a player option in 27. Vanderbilt, player option even in 28. So if you can't trade him, you're stuck with him.
He is going to pick up that last year.
Of course. Yeah, it's just
these are very ill-timed, very ill-conceived.
You have Christian Wood, Jackson Hayes, and Cam Reddish, who are all player options. I have not seen this many player options on a team ever, especially for mediocre to below mediocre talent. So who's deciding on these contracts? Who's saying player option? Is it are you really risking not signing these guys? Like, what was the point of giving Vanderbilt a player option in his last year? Them re-upping him was a surprise.
They were negotiating with themselves, Joe. It's ridiculous.
I think it's worse than themselves. I think they were negotiating with their own.
Well, remember, they did it, they did around the same time what they did AD just before the season started. So he was not eligible to be traded. But who was negotiating against them? No one. So you could literally dictate the price that you wanted and the amount of years that you wanted. I don't understand how they came to a decision for a guy that gives you nothing on offense that much money.
Yeah, and you can't ask these guys these questions because they won't answer it. And then you're ostracized because you asked the question, well, why would you give so many players? And of course these hacks, these lackeys, these stooges that are their mouthpieces in the media, they're not going to ask those questions. They're not going to tell us, oh, they decided to give so-and-so a player option because it was predicated on them being committed to the Lakers. Is it really? I mean, did you really have to do that for Vanderbilt or Gabe Vincent or anyone?
Did you feel you wanted value for the trade that you made and all the things that you did to make that trade for the D'Angelo Russell, Jared Vanderbilt trade to get them here? Did you really feel compelled, Rob, in signing them, and you wanted to make sure that you were trying to show and justify the value on that trade?
The only value in that trade was getting rid of Russell Westbrook. And
Which,
you got D'Angelo, who was the best piece of that. And
are you sure? Because Mike Conley sure is making.
yeah, but
He's made
yeah,
Minnesota a lot better.
it's fine. Sure, but they didn't want to trade Mike Conley.
Okay. Well, I want to go ahead and hit up right now the next on the list. Jackson Hayes has proven that he can only do one thing well. He rolls to the basket at a premium level. I will give him that. But the guy is a 7-foot shot blocker who doesn't block shots. He's a rim protector who doesn't protect the rim. He has zero defensive awareness, as we saw this year. He has a player option. I actually think that he's going to decline that option and then make himself a free agent on that one. I do think he will not pick that up.
If he doesn't pick it up, then he's no longer going to be a Laker.
That will not break my heart. I will just say that.
And that is the one less big you have on the team, which I don't know if I like that. I don't mind having him as the third big for a couple mil. The Lakers absolutely, desperately need a legitimate center. They need a starting center next to AD. I'd say that might be the most important position right now for the Lakers to fulfill.
You see Minnesota with their size and reach, or how successful.
Minnesota has a front line of Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns, and Naz Reid. Now I'm not, and they're all signed for pretty big contracts. They're not making chump change. There's none of those three are not making big money, right?
And a lot of people were just clowning on him because, you tied up all your money in centers. Well, look at them now.
And the Lakers won in 2020 and beat the Denver Nuggets because of size. And what are the Minnesota Timberwolves doing right now against the Denver Nuggets? They're beating them with size. I know Anthony Edwards is a star, but Karl Anthony Towns in game 2 was a menace. And Naz Reid has been a menace for 2 games. And it looks like it's going to happen again for the 3rd time. Size matters in the NBA, folks. If there's one sport in this sport life that we live, size in the NBA is paramount. It makes a difference. I watched 3 championships, the last 3 championships that the Lakers won because of size. They had Paul Gasol, they had Andrew Bynum, they had a 6'10" Lamar Odom in his prime with ball handling skills and a team first mentality. And then in 2020, you had JaVale McGee, you had Dwight Howard, and you had the defensive player of the year in 2020 that was uncrowned. Just all had their own little skill set. And some of those guys didn't play in certain series, but they played in one series that helped them. And that's what happens when you have depth. One works here, one works there. And that's what you want. You want to have options in case there are matchup issues that you're going to come about on. And when you have guys that are big and skilled and able to play defense and score a little bit, you have a huge advantage, and you take off a lot of pressure from the perimeter guys when you do that. Right now, Minnesota has that. If Porzingis doesn't come back healthy to finish off the season with Boston, that's going to be their issue should they make it to the finals and face, let's say, Minnesota.
Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is Joe Soro along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching this. I truly appreciate it. If you're not yet liked and subscribed, please do so to get the latest notifications on when we go live right here at the Lakers Fast Break. We're talking the Lakers reserves, who will stay and who will go. I know this one, I know that for a long time, Joe, before he came on the team, people were saying, man, look at the highlights on Twitter. We got to get Cam Reddish on this team. We got to get Cam Reddish on this team. Well, we got Cam Reddish on this team. Rob appeased all these Laker fans that wanted Cam Reddish on the team because they loved his highlights, but they didn't realize something that, you can't just go off of Twitter highlights. There's actually a full game to be played. And despite in November, him at one time before he got injured, leading the league in steals, we saw over the course of when he was in there at various points, Joe, not being able to do simple things on both ends of the floor, especially offensively. Not a good shooter from the outside by any stretch, and taking it inside for him, it was an adventure. Even though he has size and athletic ability, just how awkward and uncomfortable he looked taking it to the basket each time was just very disappointing to see. So, Joe, your thoughts? He also, like you mentioned, has a player option. I have a feeling he'll pick it up because I don't really know outside of Europe or overseas on exactly where else he would be able to go.
Oh God, I'll kind of way answer this. Cam Reddish is not an NBA player.
But he's probably going to pick up the 2-4 on his gun.
Jackson Hayes is barely hanging on a thread in that. Christian Wood looks like he has more focus on outside extracurricular activities. Jalen Hood-Schifino right now looks like a massive bust.
We'll get to them in a second. We'll get to them.
Jared Vanderbilt looks like he's overpaid and never available. Gabe Vincent looks like he's overpaid and never going to be healthy. We're talking about no talent, no availability players. Max Christie isn't really an NBA player. Spencer Dinwiddie is done. Maxwell Lewis looks like a second-round bust. The only positive player right now that's in that realm is probably Colin Castleton. That's it. Colin has some hope that he might.
I love how you're getting way ahead of me on that. So we're going to get to those players here in a minute.
This it's just not. It's not good. They're not good at all.
So Max Christie is the one I want to talk about next. He is someone that, again, restricted. If the Lakers want to go ahead and tender, I think for $2.4 million. Again, we talked a little bit about him earlier. 23, a guy who the Lakers spent quite a bit of money in getting him in the first place. This is not just the money that they spent giving him in the contract, Joe. It's the money that they paid to move up in the draft originally to get him. Your thoughts? Again, you don't think he is an NBA player. I think he will become an NBA player, like an 8th, 9th guy on a rotation somewhere. But as we see with the Lakers, and there's scattered players all over. In fact, we see in the playoffs, other Lakers, former Lakers make contributions on other teams. I have a feeling that's ultimately what his destiny will be. Like an 8th, 9th guy that you'll see.
I don't even know if that's.
Maybe that's a little high, but I do think he'll make another roster somewhere else.
The Lakers with LeBron turning 40, AD having a season he had, not really, and feeling like maybe that might not be a possibility again. This team needs depth. They need a lot to have any chance at winning it all.
So we'll take a look now at
they don't re-sign D'Angelo Russell, that hole gets even larger. As much as he struggles against Denver and doesn't show up apparently when it matters, he's still a talent that's able to carry things during the regular season and is a legitimate starter who's got a skill set that's important for this team. If you don't bring him back and you lose him for nothing, it is the, as they say, coup de grace at that point for this particular regime. Imagine this. I want you guys to imagine this. If D'Angelo Russell leaves without compensation to the Lakers, that means this whole trade for Russell Westbrook becomes zero. All that they did was zero. It's negative, actually, because they gave up draft capital on top of it.
So the rookies are in question again. Now, I mean, you mentioned already, you got a little bit ahead of me there when you talked about what we saw out of Jalen Hood-Schifino, who had back surgery that ended his season. Maxwell Lewis, who gave you nothing but donuts. A guy who still people be patient, Gerald. Be
I
patient. He
can't
has
sense the
promise.
iron. I can't but laugh at the irony that they didn't pick the best player available at 17 last year due to possible injury issues. Yet they drafted the guy that ended up having back surgery. You're talking about what, a 20-year-old
Mm-hmm.
having back surgery? How many 20-year-olds have back surgeries? I used to lift cars when I was 20 years old, and I never had a back injury.
I didn't have back injuries or back issues until my 40s.
I mean, seriously, a 20-year-old having back surgery? You didn't select the guy that had potential issues with injuries, and then you draft the guy that has back surgery at 20 years old. That's just it's just too comical at that point. I'm it, there's a disgust that's starting to form with this regime that is just going to continue to fester.
Well, that's the picture I'm trying to paint to everyone out there that I'm leading you into as well, that seemingly you're agreeing with me that how bad this roster was constructed by one Rob Pelinka.
It was bad because the results said it was bad. We didn't criticize it at the beginning of the year.
We thought it was great.
Yeah, because you always go into every season thinking these guys are going to play. Gabe Vincent, Jared Vanderbilt, they're gonna play. I wasn't expecting anything from Cam Reddish, Jackson Hayes, and those type of players. I didn't expect Austin Reeves to have another year where he started slow the first couple of years. I didn't expect Torian Prince to play 30 minutes a lot when he probably shouldn't have. But there was a lot of support in that Rob did what he needed to do, and he shouldn't get the blame because he set the table, he paid everybody, he told them, all right, guys, go do your thing. But if they're not producing, who are we going to blame? Whose fault is it that you got these guys and paid them? We're just guys on a podcast that watch the games and observe what's going on and talk about certain things. We're not in those gyms. We're not allowed, I guess, most of the time to go see what's going on to really know if this is going to work. It does help to have someone like Stone Hansen because he actually is in the gyms or watching film for hours and hours and hours where he can dissect things. He can dissect things that you and I can't because we have jobs, we have family, and we have things that can't keep us in a room for 10 hours watching basketball, watching Chinese Basketball Association games and high school games and college games to really, really know.
Well, again, with you and I saw during the draft what direction the Lakers should go into, and they didn't go into it. And ultimately, that hurts their depth even more because, again, you have JHS, quite possibly the biggest Lakers draft bust in quite some time. Maxwell Lewis, who you guys keep telling me to go ahead and be patient on, who's given you Zippo. Didn't the 3 games he got donuts in the, when I saw him live in Vegas during the summer league and all that, that should have given you a warning of how bad he actually is as a player ill-equipped to go ahead and be able to produce as of now. Now, will he? May he? He might. We'll see. He has to develop. He has to work hard. We'll see. You mentioned Colin Castleton, Joe, who during the preseason looked like someone who could give us some potential, but when you put him out there in practice during the course, little bits, tiny bits during the season, he did look overmatched. Now that he's coming into his second year, maybe he can give you something, but again, he has to progress as well. These rookies, Joe, these young players that they retained, they have to go ahead and develop. This summer league is very key for them, the maturation of their growth. But then again, we thought that what we saw out of Max Christie was going to be something really special because of how well he played during the course of the summer, and we saw that didn't turn out so well.
I'm going to be curious to see what happens with decisions after next year. Will Rob Pelinka keep his job? How is LeBron going to finish off his contract? Is it going to be another year to year, or is he going to sign 2 more years? It's getting depth on a team without assets to acquire that depth or the talent. How are you going to do it? You don't have 3 mid-level exceptions. You have one. You usually have one first-round draft pick, and most of the time, first-round draft picks are either going to be a massive bust or good to great. And the great part is very fickle. So let's say the Lakers re-signed D'Angelo Russell and hit in the draft and hit with the mid-level exception. Now you just helped your team for next year. Rotational players in the draft as rookie, and then your mid-level exception. And who's the mid-level exception going to be? Can you get a center that can start? Because that is huge right now. Huge. Lakers need a center and they need a backup guard. If we can cross our fingers or whatever the hell, pray that Gabe Vincent is that backup point guard that they signed him for. That's what they need. They need that guy. But it's all predicated on how the D'Angelo Russell situation comes about, the draft, and of course, the most important thing this offseason is the coach. And there's no one out there right now. There's no one out there that I feel comfortable with. They would need a guy that would command respect that's probably never coached as a head coach in the NBA. And I don't think LeBron James is capable of respecting anybody that's not been there, because that's been the history of LeBron James. And if that's not going to happen, that's why I said sit him down and go, if you don't listen to this coach, you're never going to win a championship. You're not going to have a shot at it. So it's likely not to happen, but you're really going to put the dagger in your own heart if you don't.
Well, we'll see what happens, but it is Joe Soro along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching and listening. Truly appreciate you doing so. Adam also got to remember his contract status may also prevent him from playing in summer league for a third year as well. Outside of the fact that typically third-year players don't play, but he has remember with his contract status, he may not want to. It depends on if they sign him for multiple years or just tender the 2.4 million just to keep him around for another year. So we'll see. Alan says, Gerald, I think there's a chance D'Lo walks for nothing. What would be your reaction? That's a good question, Alan. Alan, you're full of good questions tonight, and I truly appreciate that. Alan, I think I'll be near what Joe would be. I mean, as far as the loss is concerned, I don't think it's as crippling as Joe makes it out to be.
It would be crippling.
I think it's bad, but I think you can overcome it. But I think also the fact that because the player he is not going to get you where you want to go. It's clear in the playoffs he gets schemed, and he only gave you 2 out of 5 games that were at the level that you needed from him. And
who's going to start next year if D'Lo's not on the team?
Again, that's something obviously if
it would destroy any chance at the Lakers having a viable roster next year if they lost him, because he does 2 things if you re-sign him. One, he's a bona fide starter who can shoot.
And you talked to me about the asset part of it. That's more interesting. That's more interesting to me than the player in this case. D'Lo at this point looks like he's a good regular season player who gets schemed when it comes to playoff time.
I'm going to answer NV213's question. Byron Scott is saying the things that a lot of us are thinking. I've been trying to stay away from this subject because it's going to become a hater commentary, but it's not a secret that LeBron James has never allowed, because we've sat back and said in his defense, he's never had a great coach. If you look at all the great players of the last 40 years, Kareem, Magic, Larry, well, I don't know about Larry. Larry had Casey Jones, Bill Fitch, I guess.
Chris Ford?
That was the tail end of his career, I think.
Okay,
I don't know if that counts.
I just remembered Chris Ford. That's
But
why.
let's just say Casey Jones wasn't a bad coach, actually.
Okay.
He's not part of the upper echelon, but he wasn't a great. He
Hmm.
was the only one that really didn't have like an all-timer, right? But Kareem, Magic, Worthy, Jordan, Kobe, Shaq, Duncan, these guys all had Greg Popovich, Pat Riley, Phil Jackson. They had the great coaches. LeBron never really had a great coach. I know Eric Spoelstra is this, savant, but Eric Spoelstra still hasn't won a championship that didn't have LeBron James on it. LeBron James has sabotaged a lot of things in his career when it comes to winning because of his personality. He's going to have to change that the next couple of years. He's going to have to eat shit from a new coach if he has any shot at winning a new one. Because a new coach who actually is good with X's and O's and possibly good communication with the young players is your only shot at getting those guys, like, let's say if Max Christie gets back, let's say he comes back, that to get them in positions that are going to be viable to help this team win. Darvin Ham maybe didn't know how to coach Max Christie the right way and improve his game, put him in the right scheme, put him in the right positions. Who knows if that's what it is? Could be. Maybe not. Maybe I'm hoping that. But
what if
we're
it
never
is
we're
JJ?
Huh?
What if it's a JJ hiring? Obviously he can relate because of his association with LeBron.
I still don't know. I don't understand the whole hype around JJ Redick.
Okay.
JJ Redick has already shown to be a guy that's not very bright. You think he's bright because he says things in a nice Duke University coherent sentence, but I'm not going to trust someone who calls out
Players from
errors.
others' errors, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a stupid comment. It's a stupid comment. You disrespected Bill Russell. You disrespected Walt Bellamy, Wilt Chamberlain, and Jerry West. Like these guys built this league. It doesn't matter if there was 9. What did you want them to do then? Do you want to go back in time and manifest 9 more teams so it can be even? And then he doubled up and said it had issues with the 90s players. Guys, the 90s players, if you look at this all-time 75 team, most of them are from the 90s. Don't everybody in this revisionist history and prisoners of the moment, oh, the athletes are better now. No shit, the athletes are better now. How about say this? How about put those guys in this era with this kind of technology? You don't think those guys would dominate too? Could you imagine Michael Jordan with a 3-point shot? He would have averaged 40 a game, and he would have developed a 3-point shot. Because every damn time I saw Michael Jordan shoot a 3 when it mattered, he made it. 90% of the time, it felt like. So I don't like nonsense like that. If you're doing it for entertainment in the media, it's still stupid because it's fake. Like, what are you talking about? You're telling me you would be able to beat Jerry West? Seriously, let's ask that question. Jerry West in his prime against JJ Redick. Who do you think would win?
I'm still going with the logo, my friend.
The logo would eat him alive. The logo would be the wolf. JJ wouldn't even be the dog. He'd be the cat that's roaming around in the backyard. So I don't know. Do you want that kind of guy coaching you up with no experience? Why? Because he can go play hopscotch with LeBron James? How often does that work out? What happens if JJ Redick gets irritated by LeBron because he does something? Then what? LeBron's going to get butthurt and then resent him, right?
That's what Alan is saying in the chat. Even if the coach is smart with schemes that have traditionally worked, will LeBron follow it? I think LeBron, as we saw with Ham, he only follows it to a certain point.
Well, it's
Once
very
he
hard to
sees that it
follow
doesn't,
Ham. I don't know necessarily if that's fair.
well, they were committed. They were committed to doing what he asked coming out of training camp with the 5 out and all that stuff that he tried to throw out there during the preseason and into the regular season, early in the regular season. They were committed to it, and we saw how effective or lack thereof it remained. And then later on we saw decisions that were made and talked about, one of the latest articles about how LeBron right away poo-pooed the minutes restriction that lasted all of one game. That was hilarious. So
I
yeah,
don't I don't think that was hilarious at all, actually. I
well,
thought
about
I thought
how
that was thought that was a great idea on Darvin Ham's part that didn't work out because your team doesn't have players that are available.
well, it's hilarious that they even tried to go ahead and get LeBron to buy in
What
on
were
it
you
because it
supposed
was.
to do? What was he supposed to do? We talked about that ad nauseum, that LeBron cannot play more than 29 to 30
Oh,
minutes a
I
game.
agree with you, but LeBron. LeBron is just, again, a lot of it's ego, Joe. A lot of it's ego.
When it comes to playing time, I'm not going to fault anyone. I'm not going to fault a coach, even if he's not good, at trying to preserve a 39-year-old player. But it didn't
Conventional
work out
wisdom
after
says you
one
should.
game. It didn't work out. He tried. Didn't work out. You can't resent Darvin Ham for that decision. That decision was the one really good one that he made. But it just wasn't possible because there's not enough depth on this team and not enough players available to combat that issue. And even then, LeBron looked like he was okay towards the end of the year, more so than he was the year before. But the problem with the Lakers is there aren't enough shot makers and playmakers that are not LeBron James, AD, or just starters in general. They needed a couple guys off the bench that could loosen some things up, but they didn't have it. And of course, they weren't coached well either. The positioning was bad. The court balance was bad. Their adapting to certain schemes was not good. It didn't work all year. Bad fundamentals. Fundamentals should not be an issue when you have a team with LeBron James and Anthony Davis on the team. Those guys should be at the forefront on making sure that the team is in the right positions all the time, at all time. And you still have a young team outside LeBron James. AD's only 31. Everyone else is in their mid-20s to a little bit over that. That you should be boxing out. You should be focused on getting offensive rebounds and making sure that you're not letting the other team get points over and over again when they shouldn't. Denver beat the Lakers because of the same issues they'd had all year. They couldn't rebound, and got killed on the boards, second and third chances for their opponents, and they scored on those. And a lot of those scores were three-pointers on top of it. Those things kill a team. More so than, let's say, even the talent in a lot of ways. But if you don't have a coach that can motivate them and keep them focused and show them what needs to get done, or maybe call them out, and maybe certain guys on the team won't allow that. Okay, well, the fractured situation only adds to it more and more. As I said, it's a fractured team. Until this team is playing as a cohesive unit, from coach to players, from to management, it's already hard to win this championship. It's already hard to win championships when those things are good. When they're not, you're a 7th seed playing team that gets swept last year and loses in 5 this year. That's exactly what 7 seeds are supposed to do. You're supposed to get swept in the first round by the 2nd seed, and you're supposed to get taken to 5. No matter how competitive you are, it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter. Hell, what was it, 1998? During the last three-peat of the Bulls, I think they played the Washington Wizards in that first round, and every game was competitive. Every game was competitive. What did it mean? They still lost 3-0. Who cares if it was close? You got to win those games.
Well, again, there's a lot to discuss in regards to what the Lakers need to do to build a more competitive roster. I these reserves, Joe, I think they just, we had there was so much hype going into it. There was so much confidence that a lot of us, including myself, shared. That's one of the things, a few things that I did get wrong in regards to the season was how deep or lack thereof the Lakers ultimately were. So with that in mind, Joe, the Lakers do have some decisions to make. And again, they've tied up money where they shouldn't have in Vanderbilt and Vincent, and have other individuals who probably wouldn't be able to make an NBA roster next year picking up their contracts for another year. So these are small bits and problems that will again probably bother the Lakers unless Rob does something about it and makes a lot of changes in the off season. Is he working for his job, do you think, this year?
I think we
Rob?
keep asking the same questions over and over again.
Do you think
The
he's got, you
solution,
said 1 year left. Do
the
you think
easy,
he
the easiest solution to this issue is for Jeannie Buss to hire professional basketball management.
Oh, of course. Then
And,
they're out there right now, Joe. Unlike the coaching situation,
and
there
let
are
them
good candidates out
do
there.
their job. That means, well, sorry, Jeannie, we're going to have to do this. See, this is where the business of sports gets in the way sometimes. LeBron James is a marquee name, which is mind-boggling to me. The Los Angeles Lakers are a marquee name. No one should be above the Lakers. Not Kobe, not Shaq, not Magic, not LeBron James, especially with LeBron James. This is about the LA Lakers. Are you about winning championships or putting your head on your players' shoulders? And we all know Jeannie likes to play around with the employees sometimes. At least that's the rumor.
Well, we saw evidence of that as far as her and Linda Rambis fawning all over LeBron.
Yeah, I think it's bad optics. I think it's unprofessional. And because I think she's a woman, they're not calling it out. Could you imagine if a man had put his head
For
on?
like a WNBA team, for example.
Yeah, could you imagine if that had happened? I mean, the feminists would have came out with blowtorches ready to blow up the house.
The Caitlin Clark situation where the reporter does this, he makes a little bit of a offhanded remark. He will never cover the Indiana Fever again after that.
Yeah, which is what does this mean?
This is based off the State Farm commercial with Caitlin Clark, and it's so
Mhm.
funny because they didn't even win the title. They got their butts kicked by
Yeah.
South Carolina.
See, people talk about equality until it's not. And then now it's, wait a minute. And that discussion can go on its own. We could talk about that at 100.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, they're just.
Oh, let me finish what I'm saying. Don't interrupt me right now.
All right.
I'm
Sorry.
talking about the game. I'm not talking about social issues.
Okay.
You want to sit there and you want to tell me that this situation is even. It's not. Nothing is even. Because you're talking about a marquee name that you want on there because in case you don't win, you still have that marquee name. The Chicago Bulls haven't had a marquee player since Derrick Rose in his prime. Really. They still make money. So you don't think the LA Lakers are going to still make money if they're throwing out Rob Sacre and Ryan Kelly and all those guys? Yeah, we're going to go hang ourselves for watching that product, but they're still going to make money. There's still going to be a bunch of jackasses going to these games and taking selfies and looking at the Titantron or the Lakertron and going crazy when they see their faces on the screen. That's not going to stop. As a matter of fact, the NBA had more sellouts this year than I don't know how many. It's been a pretty big thing, and there's talks right now that they're going to get the contract apparently with NBC. What's that going to do? The nostalgia. That's going to bring back a lot of the old school people.
Primo Krzyzewski is 77 years old. Do you really think he wants that kind of stress right now?
If Krzyzewski was going to take the job, he would have taken it in 2004
with Kobe.
Yeah, Kobe had him a foot away, just a foot away from becoming coach of the Lakers, and I'm glad he didn't take that job because he's not a professional coach in the sense of dealing with the nonsense of being a professional coach. I think he's a great coach as an amateur, and of course, he is a great coach in international ball.
He knows the college system.
It's not so much that it's Krzyzewski gets this. You can't be Krzyzewski in a position like Krzyzewski and be. The guy was a beast, and what professional athletes react to coaches is a different way.
Like Tark was an excellent, one of the best college coaches of all time. Yet he tried to go ahead and become a head coach, after the NCAA got on his case and whatnot, tried to go ahead and make it work out in the Spurs. And obviously we saw what happened there. So,
and guys like Bobby Knight, guys like hell, even you notice Bill Laimbeer was only coaching the WNBA teams. He knows. No one's going to listen to Bill Laimbeer.
He was better as an executive.
Yeah, I mean, but no, the professional
for the WNBA.
Yeah, male NBA players are just they're hard to coach. Their egos are out of whack. They're LeBron gets the brunt of it because he's LeBron James, but he's not the only one that does this. All of them do it. Kobe did it. Shaq did it. Magic did it. They all do it.
Be easy. Ham emulated this coaching style and learned much of what he practiced out there on the court from Budenholzer. So in essence, if you get Budenholzer, you're actually just hiring an extension of what Darvin Ham brought to the table.
Budenholzer is a very stubborn man. So stubborn that he cost the Milwaukee Bucks, I'd say, at least one more championship because of his stubbornness. Not putting Giannis on Jimmy Butler 2 years ago when you're playing an 8 seed as a one seed. What do you got Giannis for? You want to keep him fresh? Fresh for what? The guy's in his prime. The guy's a Defensive Player of the Year, MVP. Use him. But a lot of times these coaches can sometimes be just as stubborn as players, and they end up sabotaging their own teams. We talk about the 81-point game. Sam Mitchell, Jalen Rose talks about it actually. Hey, coach, don't you think we should maybe double team Kobe? And he said, you double team Kobe, you're not going to get back in the game. They weren't double teaming Luka when he scored 73 points when Atlanta was playing him. Why? Why wasn't Snyder doubling Doncic? For what? Who knows? Who knows why they do what they do? But the Lakers have a lot to fix here, and I don't know necessarily if they're going to get all fixed this summer, even if they do fix some things. But you cannot absolutely, I know for sure, pick the wrong coach, number one. And 1A is if you let D'Angelo Russell go for nothing, you are setting your team up for massive failure this next year.
Again, with Joe and I, there's just no one out there. And Alan said it. I mean, it's a bunch of meh, as far as coaching options. If it was a GM, if Rob was fired tomorrow, I mean, my gosh, we would be excited because Tim Connolly, the guy who is running Minnesota, has an opt-out after this season. So he can literally go anywhere he wants or remain with Minnesota on a much bigger contract. Then you have, again, the architect of 4 championships in Golden State. He is available. because he's just working games for ESPN. There are viable candidates that can take over the Lakers right now and make them into a much better team. Coaching wise, it's not that simple, Joe, and I think that's part of the problem. We fired Darvin Ham, which we should have, and we did, but I don't think the Lakers had any foresight on who they were going to hire or look at as far as a coach beyond that. I just think it was just fire because they just got tired of reading the press clippings and not understanding what was really going on.
And here's the issue. If you pick a coach this year, which you are, and then you fire Pelinka next year, now you're setting yourself up even worse because usually GMs like to hire their own coach.
Yep.
Tim Conley is not only one, but two. He's built 2 championship teams. I should say 1 championship team and a potential championship team.
The and Minnesota Bob Myers has built 4.
And Bob Myers technically didn't build.
Okay, he
sustained it.
Whatever you want to say.
So if you want to sit there and say, Joe, which one would you pick? Well, I'd pick Tim Conley, honestly, at this point. From what's going on with Minnesota.
He's the guy that's done it right now.
And then you can go back on top of that and go, well, how can you really screw up? How can you really screw up 2 first-round overall picks? And he did trade for Gobert, but okay, sure.
But he did also was a part of the Mike Conley trade that sent away Vanderbilt and Russell.
Yeah. So, well, sometimes it's not just you. Sometimes there's a little bit of luck there involved. You can't control the balls to the lottery, and you got it twice, and you hit on it twice. But anything's better than what's going on right now in my book. It's just it's tiring. It's tiring. It's tiring that you've got such a prestigious organization, such a top flight franchise that's being run by people that I don't even know could run a yogurt shop. Really? Could they run you take away their money that their daddy gave them. What now? What would you do? What would Jeannie do if she didn't have her dad? Because the stuff that she's done, some good stuff, and it's like that half and half thing. It's kind of like I'm not comparing Jeannie to this guy. It's just it's the duality of human beings sometimes. So Pablo Escobar was a drug dealing, murderous psychopath, but he was one of the biggest philanthropists also. And I'm sure the people that he gave money to all those years still love him for it, right? Well, Jeannie does good things, but it's almost like she outweighs the good things sometimes with how bad her bad is. And you can't really have that in sports. The margin of error is very little.
I mean, they all have their mistakes, Jeremy. I mean, yeah, you talked about
mistakes are not the issue. You make a bad draft pick, fine. You make a bad signing, fine. But at some point, when you make those mistakes over and over again, that maybe that's just who you are. And then back to what I'm saying about good and bad. You do so good in picking up talent through the draft, through late in the draft, through free agency, and then you don't retain those things. It's worse because you put in all that manpower and all that scouting and all that preparation and all that training for what? To get rid of those assets? Why? Why would you do that? Why would you trade Zubac for nothing? Why would you let Caruso go for nothing? That's what kills your team. That's what kills your depth.
Mo Wagner. He was a first-round draft pick for you.
Mo Wagner was part of a trade that they needed to make, right? Wasn't he in the...
Was he in the Washington trade?
What was it, the first one? I forgot which one it was. Was he in the Westbrook trade?
I'll check to see if he's... I don't
check that one. I'm
I don't think
drawing a blank on that one.
I don't think he was in the Westbrook trade. but let me check. I think
That's funny, sports baby.
it was Montrezl Harrell. I think you're talking about.
No, Harold was in that
Yeah,
Westbrook trade, yes.
yeah, that's what I think
But I
of.
don't think Wagner was. Wagner was in a
No,
trade before for wasn't he involved in the
Kuzma, KCP, and Montrezl Harrell, and the
yeah.
number 22 pick.
Who was Wagner traded for? Wasn't it for AD?
By the way, the number 22 pick, I think, ended up being Isaiah Jackson for Indiana. And we saw Isaiah Jackson play a pivotal role in the game one for Indiana. So, oh, yeah, that's right. Mo Wagner got traded for Reggie Bullock. That's right. That's just as bad. Well, that's almost as bad, JSJ, as the.
Isn't Reggie Bullock the guy that has turds for hair?
Yes, he's off.
Looks like a bunch of turds on top of his head.
He is the individual you do not like his hair. Yes, he's
Yeah,
on. He's a reserve now for Houston.
So there you go.
Yes.
There you go. You traded a talented player for some shithead.
Harrell got injured seriously. I think broken leg or something like that, or knee, when he was playing for the Sixers. He was picked up by the Sixers, so I think he is out of the league at this point in time. Bullock is playing as a reserve for Houston. I don't know if he would be retained. But yeah, Mo Wagner was traded for him. That's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up, JSJ. And then again, Mike Muscala was traded from the Clippers to get Ivica Zubac.
That was Magic's swan song acquisition.
And Rob was in the room, Joe. He was right there. Could have been very vehement in his.
Magic was obsessed with. Magic was trying to channel his Pat Riley with the body percentage situation. So I think he maybe thought that Zubac wouldn't be that guy. He didn't realize Zubac was a kid. A lot of these guys have baby fat even when they're in their 20s, and then they start to develop when they play. And it hurts to imagine that someone like Magic Johnson doesn't really know basketball when he's a basketball genius
at a coaching or GM level.
Yeah, he's so bad at coaching and being an executive in basketball that you're just in total astonishment at how bad he is. You couldn't learn a few things, Magic. You're the greatest team athlete I've ever seen. Team sport athlete I've ever seen. You're the best. Yet couldn't recognize that these guys have talent and could have helped your team here. Imagine if we had Zubac at center this whole time. It would have been a whole different ballgame.
Yep.
And this is a guy that you drafted, that you honed in on, that you developed. Continuity and identity is important. But we didn't get that.
The Caruso over TNT,
and then Lonzo Ball. You look back on it. We're not out there. We're not scouting. We're not at Duke. We're not at Kentucky. We're not doing that. Why do you draft Lonzo Ball? Because of the hype machine. Why did Michael Jordan not run the Charlotte Hornets well? Because he didn't do homework. He wasn't out there involved. Dr. Buss was involved. He was in what was going on. He was paying attention to what was going on. If you're not paying attention to the game, even as an owner, even though you have other people doing the job, then how are you going to make any? It's still your team. You got to be able to know what's going on with your business. But none of these guys seem to know what was going on. Lonzo Ball, to me, is a bust. Is a massive bust. And you could have gotten Jason Tatum.
That's right. Isaac Bonga as well in that trade to Washington.
A lot of
remember when Isaac Bonga was going to be the next Magic Johnson?
Yeah. I remember who was the other one? The Chinese Magic Johnson.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
2009.
Yeah.
Yeah, people love to hype things up, don't they? I don't want to dwell on the mistakes anymore. I think I'm burnt out from that. I'm tired of bagging on Jeannie and Rob and all these people because it's counterproductive. What I like to see right now is I like to see them pick the right coach, and
It
then
was for the Anthony Davis trade, just to let you know.
yeah, I was sure of it that it was Anthony Davis. Yes, I know I haven't forgotten everything here.
Wang Zhishi, by the way.
Yeah.
Just popped in my head. And I was like, Wang Zhishi, I remember.
No. It's the Lakers right now in terms of the depth. They don't have any depth. And they're going to need to acquire it this summer, either through trade or through the draft and free agency. If they don't, if they go into next year with only the starting five being viable, look, it's not gonna look good, and we're gonna blame the next coach for the issues even more again, and it's just gonna be a problem.
Brandon Ingram's name has been brought up several times in the chat. I've tried to kind of ignore it, but Kim, who I believe is a new viewer, thank you for joining. Please like and subscribe if you can. You get the latest notifications on when we go live right here at the LFB. Brandon Ingram as a possibility on coming back. It's like we bring all these players back again. I mean, do you like Mr. 20-foot jump shot?
I wouldn't mind if he was on this team, but he's staying in New Orleans for the same reason why I'm telling you to keep D'Angelo.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think they are making changes between him or McCollum. I think Griffith put that in his exit interview that they are going to make changes, Joe.
So they're going to let Brandon Ingram go for nothing. I'll have to see that one to believe it.
Well, is he a free agent? Oh, no worries, Kim. Yeah, we like having you here. No worries. Absolutely. Glad to have you here. But let me see if Ingram's, I think Brandon is a free agent. If I'm not mistaken, I want to go ahead and say it or no.
Well, he's going into, I thought he was.
Let me see.
All the information I have is
no.
He's got 1 more year.
He's got 1 more year.
He's doing extension.
He's doing okay. He's got 36 million for next year. It's left on, and then he's unrestricted.
Right. Do they?
He'll be 28 only on it.
Do they
Seems
risk?
Like he's been in the league forever.
Do they risk not extending him and letting him play out his contract?
Well, what they're going to offer him is not going to be what he wants because he didn't get it done, and he always gets hurt.
And he'll never get it done. Brandon Ingram is not.
He's not a $40 million player.
No. To me, he's not even a $30 million player. I give him 20 for 4. That's it. But on the Lakers with this team,
and Alan's, you're right. He has a 50.
Imagine putting Brandon Ingram where Rui is.
Yeah.
Yeah. He'd be a force.
And Alan's right. He has a 15% trade kicker.
Yeah. So you sign him to an extension, making $40 million per for the next 5 years. Oh, and if you want him, you got to throw in another 15%. Yeah, no one's trading for Brandon Ingram. Sorry. So if I'm New Orleans, if you really want to start over, and you don't even know Zion Williamson is going to be the guy either. So you might end up the next few years figuring out what you're going to do with those two.
I mean, Zion, he played like it for literally.
I would trade. Honestly, I would trade both. I would trade both right now.
I mentioned that last year, and I got a lot of heat for that as far as because of the fact he's just so unreliable and gets hurt so often, Zion. I mean, he can be your number one.
You can always tell by those guys, too. I mean, again, Brandon Ingram is kind of a quiet guy, doesn't, I guess, ruffle feathers. But, sometimes you see, I feel like he cares more about his aesthetics than he cares about the game. He's always got some weird hairdo going on or whatever. Like, are you paying attention to the game or are you eating right? Like, what's going on there? I don't know. I don't know what – some of these guys just want to make their money and go home. If New Orleans wants to go next level, they're going to have to probably trade Zion and Brandon Ingram and start over.
Well, I remember Sean going into this, Alan, in regards to Zion's body, just the amount for his size because he's what, 6'5", I
JY,
think.
I don't think Magic knew enough about Jason Tatum. He didn't put in the work to go see Jason Tatum play, maybe.
Well,
Because
but let me.
why would you? Let
But
me ask you this. If the Celtics had the second pick that year, would they have picked Lonzo or Tatum?
I think they would have picked Tatum.
That's a good question to ask. Of course, everyone over there is going to say we would have picked Tatum, but I don't know if necessarily believe them. So we would need to get some information at that time. What was on your board? What was on you? What was the first three on your board? And really, really know and have proof of it.
The thing is, though, with Zion, I just want to say his body type, because he's what, 6'5", 280, 290, Joe? Would you
Zion?
say? Zion? That's 6'5".
Zion is at 300 pounds, then
He might be 6'4", 6'5", or something. He's no taller than that.
I think he's legitimately 6'5". I think that's a real height.
But he goes like 280, 290. But the kind of torque that he does, as far
I don't
as
believe he's
with
280.
his,
I believe
okay,
he's over 300 pounds.
he's north. Well, that's okay. Let's say he's north of 300 pounds. Then the kind of explosion and torque that he creates when he goes on his drives that makes it so spectacular, that shows you that promise, is the very thing that causes a lot of his grief and his injuries, or will shorten his career most likely later on, Joe.
And the irony in that is, if he got skinny, if you look at Charles Barkley, which he's been compared to in terms of his physique a lot. If you look at Charles Barkley when he was in his prime and without a jersey on, he was very skinny, especially when he was in Phoenix. I mean, he was a skinny, he was in great shape. Great shape. He was 250 and Charles is 6'4" and could jump out the building. Zion would have to lose 50 pounds and he would be an absolute home wrecker. He'd be a machine. Because now, for every pound you have on your body, you put about 3.5 pounds of pressure on your knees. You're taking off 160 pounds of pressure every time you move. Imagine that, 160 pounds. You ever held 160 pounds? You ever taken 80-pound dumbbells and put them on the side? That's a lot of weight, guys. Now imagine how much pressure that is on the knees. Zion has to make a commitment to getting to 250 pounds legitimately. If he does that, he'll have a career for 10, 12 years. If he doesn't, not going to make it. And me, if I'm New Orleans, if I'm Griffin, I'm not taking that chance.
Well, you already talked, like I said, Tori talked about making big changes, and I think he needs to do so.
Probably sees it. Yeah, he's not dumb. Griffin is not dumb. He knows. So I would trade Brandon Ingram and I would trade Zion Williamson right now for anything and everything. And
because he's not going to get much for CJ McCollum, because he's got a big contract.
Done, guys. CJ's on his last leg. That guy's nothing. They have to start over again. But that
Trey Murphy kid, though, is going to be something special.
Getting stuck in the mud. How do you know? Did you know? Because I didn't think Zion Williamson would be this lazy. No one thought that. I thought he was a bright guy and had a lot of promise to being a franchise player, and it just didn't work out that way.
Well, if you're a sports baby, when it comes to the Clippers, what choices do you really have? You've already, by signing Kawhi to his contract and making the trades that you have, you already kind of like boxed yourself in. Joe, your thoughts, especially with that new arena that's coming up that I'm sure Steve wants to go ahead and fill up with people based on the advertising that he wants to put on billboards all around Los Angeles there with all those familiar names. The name that he might not have is Paul George, because Paul George has yet to sign an extension there. I pretty much think that Harden is going to accept anything that they offer him. But your thoughts on the Drippers because it doesn't look good because they are looking even older than the Lakers.
Yeah, James Harden is probably a couple of years away from being a bench player. Really,
He sees Russell Westbrook and says, "That's me."
Paul
in 2
George.
years.
Yeah, Paul George still has talent. If he's in the right situation, maybe a place like Miami, he could be valuable there. Really valuable over there.
Paul George, I think he's going to be Philadelphia, Orlando. Those are two teams that have
He
always
could
talked about
definitely
him.
make a mark there and continue to be Paul George.
Yeah.
He's still got stuff in the tank. Kawhi is done. Kawhi, the Clippers need to cut bait with that immediately. I don't care how many arenas they're opening up. Doesn't matter.
Too late, Joe. You already committed $200 million to him.
The Clippers are always going to clip folks.
Thank goodness.
And when you're a Laker fan and you're worried about the Clippers, you should be ashamed of yourself. Never worry about the Clippers, folks. Never worry about the Clippers. I don't care how much talent they have on that team. And Ballmer did fix it up a little bit. Yeah, Jerry West is an advisor over there. But they're the Clippers, folks. No one's going to fix the Clippers. Curse or no curse, doesn't matter. They're I think the only way they become viable is if they get out of LA, which they're not going to get out of LA. But they're the Clippers. Win something and then we'll talk. But they're not going to win shit. So it doesn't matter. Clippers are in a worse spot than the Lakers. At least we have Anthony Davis.
I mean, SB, I'm the reason why I'm saying that it's Joe knows. I mean, we both spent quite a bit of time in Southern California. I lived in Southern California for 25 years. I drove on those freeways and saw all the billboards as far as how powerful advertising can be. And to the average individual, the thought of seeing a picture of Kawhi and Harden and PG trying to sell out your arena when you are the definitive number 2 team. And it's not even close how much the Lakers own Los Angeles over the Clippers. When you're the Clippers moving into a new arena, trying to get your own identity now that you're not having to share the same building, again, you need all the familiar faces that you can get. Even if it doesn't mean you're building a championship team.
Everyone should understand it doesn't matter how much money you have sometimes. Ballmer has all the money in the world. He's the richest owner in the NBA, correct?
Yep.
You have to
always need more money.
You have to play through rules. You can't buy everything, folks. Not in sports. Sports is different. The richest owner doesn't win it all. Otherwise, Jerry Jones would be winning Super Bowls every year. Instead, all he wins is media attention every year and the Forbes list going up. And Cowboy fans whining and crying about why their Cowboys can't make it to an NFC Championship game, yet they keep buying season tickets.
They keep going 100,000 strong to Arlington Stadium.
And we talked about this as Laker fans. We're part of the problem. We're enabling Jeannie and Rob to have jobs because we keep watching them and keep talking about them. And I'll be honest, wasn't for this show, I wouldn't have watched all 89 games this year.
Are you including the IST or not?
Yeah.
Okay.
The 89 doesn't count the preseason either.
Yep.
So we've seen every game. We've seen every summer league game in the last calendar year, every preseason game, and every regular season game, playoff game, and season tournament play-in. I'm waiting for a third tournament soon.
Dear God, no, please.
Yeah, it's exhausting. But people love them selfies in that Titantron. So they're going to the games and they're spending that money. It's supposed to be a broke country, yet you sold out NBA games. Who knew? Who knew?
I told you about that video the other day I saw on YouTube. Guy prefaced, I spent $30,000 on this seat to just sit next to LeBron. It's the seat right next to where LeBron sits on the bench. 30 grand.
What's that going to do for your life?
Help make him a YouTube video, I guess.
LeBron doesn't even know he exists. So what exactly is the point of sitting next to LeBron, dude? The infatuation that continues to grow with celebrities is mind-boggling to me, especially after all the stuff that keeps coming out right now on the whole celebrity world. What's LeBron gonna do for you if you sit next to him? He's gonna invite you for tea. Okay, he invites you for tea. Then what?
Before we head on out, my friend, I want to go ahead and just give a congratulations to Nikola Jokic, who once again won the MVP voting. And you said you and Sean are formulating a plan on exactly who the voters are for this. But I wanted to give people a shout out on the voting as far as how that was done. And you see there 79 first place votes for Nikola Jokic. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, congratulations to him from Oklahoma City. He finished second. Luka Doncic, I know probably Frank is probably not exactly thrilled that he finished third. Giannis somehow amazingly got one first place vote, Joe. He finished fourth. Jalen Brunson finished fifth. I think that was I honestly don't know how Jalen, with all that he did for the Knicks this season, literally carried them on his back. And Giannis was injured for parts of the season in a disappointing Milwaukee season, yet somehow Giannis finished ahead of Jalen. Still can't figure that out. Still can't figure out why he's not on Team USA. Congrats to him on being up 2-0. Then you have Jason Tatum, Anthony Edwards, then Domantas Sabonis with 3 votes, and Kevin Durant with a vote. No sign of LeBron or AD on that voting, Joe. Your thoughts?
We're gonna get after it this summer with those guys. I gotta confirm the voters first. There's always an alleged this guy might be, this guy might. Some are common sense. We know Stephen A. Smith has a vote.
Some will tell you straight up on
we know
the
Bill
air,
Simmons has a vote, but there's a lot on there that weasel Mike Greenberg. I don't know if he has a vote or not. Still, I would say he probably does. A lot of East Coast bias, a lot of anti division, the bias. I told you how most of these voters are from Ohio or I should say the Northeast via Ohio as well. Ohio, me being a Steeler fan, Ohio, a lot of Steeler fans from Ohio, but people who support the Cleveland Browns and Cincinnati Bengals hate the Steelers. And there's a lot of voting in that world where you're it's kind of mind-boggling as well. And of course, New England, Pittsburgh, you're going to see a lot more anti-Steeler awards there too. And then, of course, in the NBA, the Lakers, it's so bad that Shaquille O'Neal had to turn into a complete asshat today when he was interviewing Nikola Jokic. He looked like a complete and utter jackass because he resents the fact that Jokic has 3 MVPs and he has 1. And that's because of the media that votes, not because of Jokic, Shaq. You have a reason to be upset, but not at the guy who got the award. Jokic doesn't give a crap about MVPs. Doesn't care about any of this stuff. Blame the voters. They're the ones that cost you the MVPs. You and Kobe. That's it.
That's it.
And we get on Barkley, we get on Shaq. I get on Shaq a lot. Friends of mine always kind of puzzled by that because they're not in the know. They don't pay attention to things like I do. Shaquille O'Neal embellishes a lot of his talk. A lot of the stuff he says is bullshit. I'm not saying he doesn't take care of people or he's not friendly and all that. Absolutely. helps people with money. He's got a big heart, but there is that Shaq that comes out like he did tonight. That it's that attitude that cost him the greatest position, especially at his position. Shaquille O'Neal should have been the greatest center of all time, but he was too busy being insecure in a lot of ways, and it continues. He's still insecure about a lot of things.
Well, on that note, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is Joe Soro along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching and listening. I truly appreciate it. Big shout out to everyone who took the time to watch us and is still up late at night.
Shaq got robbed in 01 and he got robbed, honestly. I don't think there was a better player in the NBA.
You're talking about not getting the unanimous.
Shaquille O'Neal should have won an MVP from 2000, 2001, and 2002. I don't care how good of a season AI had in 01, and I don't care how good of a season Tim Duncan had in 02. Shaquille O'Neal was the best mother effing player between 2000 and 2002. He should have 3 straight MVPs, league MVPs. Kobe should have won an MVP in 08, 09, and 2010, and especially 2006. Kobe should have had 4 MVPs. And I'll take you guys to the freaking cleaners on all that.
So you're saying Shaq should have won how many? 3, you said?
3. Should have at least won 3. Now, 2005, he lost them to Steve Nash. He could have probably won that one too, but I thought Steve Nash's value in 05 for Phoenix when he left Dallas was huge. He was that was probably their best team, believe it or not. Some will argue against it. Some say that 07 was the best Phoenix team in that era. I bet no. Johnson was on that team still in 05. They should have won a championship in 05. That was their opening. I forgot his first name, Johnson.
Talking about Eddie?
No. My memory is going to shit, man. Hold on.
Talking about for the Phoenix Suns from the
yes. He left after that year.
Joe Johnson.
Joe Johnson, thank you. My freaking name. I thought that was the best Phoenix team in that run, and Steve going to that team made it just another juggernaut. But what are you gonna do? But seriously, you tell me. I'm a Laker fan, so obviously it's gonna look like I'm biased. But seriously, be real. Shaquille O'Neal won MVP. Kobe Bryant won MVP. 1. Nash has 2. Nikola Jokic has 3. You give an MVP to James Harden for being the best player. He wasn't a team player. Westbrook has an MVP. He wasn't a team player. So the vote changed according to someone's feelings, probably. But it's an embarrassment. And I think the commissioner should have been involved in that a little bit more. But we all knew David Stern, after 98, was pretty much sitting on his ass or his thumbs with everything. He was too busy telling Stu Jackson to go see if Kobe Bryant was swinging his elbows too aggressively on certain plays and suspending him. That's what they were worried about. That's how they marketed their best player in the league.
Check out the YouTube channel, Lelix, before you go ahead and speak your mind on that, because then it gets corrected. See the YouTube channel. We're closing in on 1,600 subscribers. We've actually had closing in on 400,000 views? No, 300,000 views. I'm sorry, 300,000 views on YouTube. So it's quite a bit on YouTube. So you should be scared, because if you get this guy next to me, pissed off, he will make your life
Wait, what happened?
very beautiful. Just somebody trolling on Twitch. So
You're scared? Of course you're not scared. You're behind a computer with one hand typing and the other up your ass. It's easy when you do that at home. But if I'd like you to do it in front of in someone's face.
Yeah. Come over to YouTube.
Come over to YouTube.
Yeah, come over to YouTube.
Oh, and if you really want to talk smack, come talk smack to my face.
Yeah.
Our faces.
Come over to YouTube.
We've asked a few people. No one shows up.
Yeah.
And I'm
One did, Joe.
Google this. There's an address on there. I got cameras at my business too. So if I'm not there, I'll know you're there if you're at the door. I have a motion sensor.
No, Lelix, we win every time. That's why we're the Lakers.
We're winners. I mean, I can't tell you how much we win in life.
Yes. But big shout out to Bag and Dragon, who is one of our few and loyal Twitch followers. True, we don't have a Twitch following as of yet. But if we do, we do. But YouTube, we're pretty good. We're doing pretty good on YouTube.
Sports Baby, I actually thought Adam Silver, the first 6-7 years of his reign was absolutely phenomenal. What killed him was COVID. I'm sorry. The craziness of what was going on in the country in 2020. That took him out.
No, the Lakers don't always win. That I will give you. But we definitely do here at the Fast Break. Whether they win or not. If you watch some of our episodes, you'll see why. Pale Fox is someone on Twitch. Because remember, I multi-streamed this out to Facebook. Several groups on Facebook. YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. You can go ahead and check us out anywhere. You get your social media. So I even throw some shorts on TikTok every now and then. If you want to see more pissed off Joe. So
it's purely decorative.
Yes. Purely decorative.
I actually don't get this angry off air.
He's actually a nice guy. I've actually met him in person. My wife was quite impressed.
You give the audience, folks, the great Oliver Reed. For those of you who don't know who Oliver Reed is, he played Proximo in the Gladiator movie.
Well, for most of the Gladiator movie,
Oliver Reed was a drunk, a hellraiser. He was probably one of the worst ones. Matter of fact, he was so bad that he was this close to replacing Sean Connery as James Bond, but because he was such a problem person, he always had to fight that issue, right?
That's how he actually that's pretty much I think how he passed away during the filming.
He died in Malta before shooting finished, and he died arm wrestling a bunch of military guys, drinking every beer and every hard liquor you could think of, and then had a heart attack and died.
Yep, that's pretty much how he wanted to go.
Yeah, he lived as wildly as he could have, and the moral of the story is the thing he was brilliant in terms of his description of what you're supposed to do as an entertainer.
Gladiator is one of his best performances, actually, when you look back on it.
Everyone had said that he was about to come back. That's what they were saying after that. That scene when he's describing the Colosseum.
Yeah.
Wow. Just 50,000 Romans. And this is a guy that used to laugh at acting coaches and theater and all that. He goes, acting is about grabbing the audience. You give the audience what they want, negative or positive. The negative is even better because you're giving that negative attention. It's all part of the show. The guys that we don't like in the media, some of them understand that and they perpetuate it more and more because they know they got you.
When it comes to Twitch, I use that, and I'm glad that anybody watches this on Twitch. But there's just no way you can compete on Twitch if you're a regular show like ours. When you go there, Joe, and the first thing that pops up on your algorithm, as far as even the gaming streams aside, is just those dating shows, the girls in the bikinis. They're just there. My gosh, there's just no way you're going to compete with that as far as our show is concerned. That's why we thrive on YouTube, because it's a different marketplace. I think just the Twitch conundrum to regular shows and why they just cannot do well. It's just a different audience that is usually maintained on Twitch, Joe. That's
Wasn't Twitch the video game world pretty much?
It's not now. It's still a good portion of that, but if you go there right now, look at what your algorithm will pop up. If you pop up twitch.com, check and see what pops up there. Girls next, in hot tubs, just talking.
The issue with that, everyone sits there and yaps about leaders of the country and things like that are killing the country. Whatever. Like, guys, the moral fiber of this country is what's killing it. The allowance of whoring yourself to everything for every dollar. The second you allow the money to control you, and you lose all options, and then that's your option, you're done. There was a time when that was a shameful thing to do. Now it's accepted. Now you're looking up to the Cardi B's and all those disgusting people. What are you looking up to those people for? And maybe they've always been looked up to. I don't know. Maybe, rock stars back in the day to some degree, but at least those rock stars had a talent. Motley Crue may have been a bunch of freaking jackasses, but my God, they had some good music. That takes talent. Their music was badass.
Home Sweet Home.
There's a lot of it. Vince Neil, Jesus, dude, you got to retire, bro.
Yeah.
You had a time. You owned it. You owned the 80s.
But you don't understand, Joe. They still make money. They still make money, man.
His voice and his delivery and his
Dr. Feelgood still point. Feeling good, Joe.
But just like a professional athlete, at some point you're gonna hit the wall. Don't try to jump on 4 or 5 more teams to earn $1, man. Jesus.
Joe, they are still doing that, Joe. I mean, the 80s groups are still touring. They're still making money. They're still stopping all over the place.
Some guys are just made for certain eras. And I saw Guns N' Roses at Qualcomm before they took down the stadium. I never thought I'd see the Guns N' Roses, the original band. Technically, it wasn't really the original band, but
the Use Your Illusion Guns N' Roses.
The main guys, right? Like Axl Rose, never, we didn't think Axl Rose was ever going to come back and play with the boys back, right? But they did. So I was able to watch them. I never thought I did. I've seen Metallica and I've seen Guns N' Roses. Those are the two staples growing up in my life in terms of rock and roll.
Metallica could still tour today and still
Sure.
There should be some exceptions.
But as soon as they start playing their new stuff, I was like,
nobody wants to hear that.
Nobody wants to listen to it. November Rain, Paradise, Jungle, all that good stuff. It's great.
Stuff they made in the 2000s. No, you don't want to hear any of that.
I was listening to it. They played a little bit of it, and they were smart. They didn't play a lot of it because we're not dumb. They're not dumb. We don't want to hear it. We want to hear the good stuff. When you see Hulk Hogan, you didn't want to see him wearing a blue blazer mask, did you? I mean, how ridiculous was that? Seriously. I mean, I know it was for comedy. I know it was a shoot, but
you were talking. It was a certain angle where he had to go ahead and wear mask as Mr. America. Yeah.
No, people wanted to see him wearing the yellow and red and come out and do his
or the black and white with NWO.
Yeah, that's it. So there's just certain things that work and some don't, no matter who it is. We want to see if Bryan Cranston is playing Joe Smith, lawyer guy. Yeah, there's going to be interest because he's phenomenally talented. But man, the second you say Walter White, how many more people start coming in?
He'll be trying to chase that for the rest of his life as
He
far as
won't.
something
He
else.
already accepted that he will never get a role like that again, and that's even more respect to him. I love Bryan Cranston, the guy. Honestly, I think he's one of those gems in and out of the game.
So Be Easy must be good then, with the fact that Kim got her booze at the Tom Brady roast removed on the
Oh,
Netflix.
I've been reading some things on the time. I'm trying to understand something here. Why are people bitching about this roast? It's a roast. That's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to piss you off. But what's the deal here?
They removed her booze because she was
Why?
booed.
They removed the booze. They're mad about Giselle. They're mad about this. It's a roast. It's a roast. And by the way, did you guys ever watch the William Shatner roast? That one was 10 times worse in terms of its words. Grow some nuts, America. Get it back. Relax. It's a joke. It's a freaking
I still
joke.
thought, I understand the comedian. I forgot what her name was, but the comedian, she was
Nikki
good.
Glaser?
Yeah, but Bledsoe was the best to me. Bledsoe was the best because he got the best lines, because you don't expect it from him. He ripped both Brady and Belichick, and I thought that was, to me,
Eli said something good. I doubt I, I I don't know for sure. Maybe he did, but that line he wrote was too good for him to make up. I think somebody had helped him with that.
Probably.
I didn't attend the roast because I didn't want to roast Brady for the third time. I thought that was brilliant. I don't think Eli made that up. I think somebody told him to write that.
But yeah, if you check it out, it is available right now on Netflix. Removed Kim Kardashian booze and all, but it is, of course.
Why did they remove the booze?
Just, like they artificially sweeten sometimes a post for WWE. They just, maybe not to hurt her feelings. So,
what?
I don't know. Why would you remove Kim Kardashian booze? Think about it.
What booze? Like actual alcohol?
There was actually no booze. Actual people were booing her when she went on stage for her time to roast Tom Brady at that
They
roast.
removed the booze. Oh,
Yes.
the booze.
So if you saw it live, Joe, you could hear them booing her.
Was she good or bad? I haven't seen it yet.
I guess she was all right for what it was, but it's just the fact that they were booing her for her presence there, and Netflix, and if as far as they took it out before they made it available for later showings. So
yeah, I remember the Situation got up to the podium years ago, and he absolutely probably was the worst roaster I've ever seen in my life. Jeff Ross saved him a little bit, coming up and trying to help him out a little bit. But yeah, it's puzzling that there's so many boos, as in boo.
Yes, BOOS.
Booze, this drink. For someone who's apparently gawked at.
No, but this was booze and BOOS for her that they took out.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of the Kardashians. I think they're a big. I don't know. I don't necessarily think I'd be booing. It's a roast. It's not about her. It's about Tom Brady. But
she got on a jet and appeared at the Met Gala the next day.
I'm not. I think the Kardashian lifestyle is one of high class trash.
But yet Tristan Kardashian Thompson still played 16 minutes for the Cleveland Cavs. That's how bad their situation is without Jared Allen, who we wouldn't mind seeing on the Lakers.
Jared Allen?
You remember you said Jared Allen. If he was
that could be definitely somebody they can use.
You would need a lot of shooting surrounding him and AD, but that's.
I think you have enough shooting right now with
if you retain
Russell. But how are you going to get him? You'd have to trade some of those guys for him,
or first rounders too. Yeah,
there's not enough. The Lakers are stuck right now. They have to keep everyone and then add talent. They don't have no room to trade.
Claxton is bad for a free thrower, Eric. Plus, he's so thin. He is so thin. he has no strength. Do you see him being able to stop Jokic at all? Nick Claxton on the Nets. I don't
Probably
honestly.
not.
Those legs, man. It's just not big enough for a 6'11" guy.
I haven't seen that Bloodhound. Why was GP bad? Usually he's pretty good at talking trash. You're right, Bloodhound, on that one too. The Met Gala has become a Lady Gaga-like event where people are wearing ham sandwiches and apparently they have style as outfits.
And on that note, it is, of course, the Lakers Fast Break. It is Joe Soro along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching and listening. We're going to shut it down for now, but we will come back with more NBA playoff coverage. Again, the Knicks win tonight. They're up 2-0 as they go back to Indiana. Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, Russell Westbrook. I remember he was dressed up as what looked like a tooth fairy. I remember. It was not good.
But it is, of course, the Lakers Fast Break. Truly want to thank everyone on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and of course, right here on YouTube for joining us tonight. If you can, please, and if you've not already yet, please like, follow, and subscribe. If you're listening to us, please give us that 5-star review. It really helps us out, beginning to a larger and larger audience. So maybe one day we can be competitive with the girls sitting in the hot tubs or the little kiddie pools in their bikinis on Twitch. Maybe we'll be posted up right there for people to go ahead and see us.
I'll tell you what. I'll make a deal with you guys. I'll make sure that happens one day. There will be a jacuzzi and there will be 2, 3 smoking hot girls in the tub.
If what?
When we get to 10,000 subs.
Okay.
Yeah.
The mind wanders on how Joe's going to be able to do that, but
it doesn't wonder. I know plenty of people who would do that setup. I know people that do that for a living. Models.
All right. Well, that happens. 10,000. We'll probably do a giveaway.
No, not AI. This is live feed, people. Come on.
Joe doesn't do AI.
I don't do AI. I don't do OnlyFans.
He does artificial, but he doesn't do artificial intelligence.
I do fake grass.
Yes.
Yes.
That's about as fake as he's going to get.
Yeah.
So, and you can find out more about that on Simblades, simblades.com. Yeah, JSJ, Cool Bro is probably going to look back on his life and probably regret that period of time.
Well,
I don't want to be too hard on the kid.
I don't know if he's a kid, honestly.
Joe, he's on my channel. I interviewed him on Saturday. He's live. It's legit.
All right.
He's a 15-year-old. Yes,
well,
I spoke to him on Saturday. It's legit. It's right there on Pop Culture Cosmos. Yes, he's legit. Video of it and everything. So, yes.
Okay.
But the fact is that he got hit in the back of the head by a bully, is still feeling the effects and still not seeking medical attention, or if I'm their parents, not seeking medical attention for him.
Does he live with his parents? Do they do anything?
Yeah, I saw his mom there communicating with him in that video.
So what Cool Bro needs to learn is maybe watch footage of Shawn Michaels doing his sweet chin music move, and I think that might be the best way to handle that problem.
There you go. Sweet chin music for him, like the barbershop, throw the guy through a window.
Probably the best heel turn
Marty
ever.
Jannetty. Yep, that was a great angle.
The best.
I wrote an article on that.
Saw.
Yeah, I wrote an article on that about the after effects. I think I did. It was the 25th anniversary of that. I wrote an article, still up on the internet on Pop Culture Cosmos. But what I did was I talked about how their careers went in totally different directions. About how Marty Jannetty's career, he became an afterthought in the world of professional wrestling after that. And we saw what happened with Shawn Michaels after that. He became a superstar. Just the dichotomy.
It's obvious Marty Jannetty didn't have the charisma that Shawn
Yeah.
Michaels
Oh yeah.
had,
Yeah,
right?
no doubt.
Yeah,
He
that
had
was all.
athletic ability and gifts, but
But
also he had demons as well.
Yeah, they all had demons, but Shawn Michaels was able to be a functional demon.
Yeah, that's true. Sure. Yep.
And some people can't. Some people can't be alcoholics and be functional like Ric Flair.
Yep.
I know alcoholics who are absolutely like if you weren't worried about going to jail, you throw them out of a window. They're so bad when they drink.
Yeah. Ric Flair still even getting to it. If you saw the footage this past weekend, he's still making the scene. That's what he's doing. Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. Yep, the Road Warriors were to the best, Eric. Yep, that's classic 80s tag team wrestling right there for you. But once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. Truly appreciate you joining us. We'll be back for more great stuff tomorrow. We'll see if we can get together more NBA playoff and also Lakers news. I had a good discussion today and talk about the reserves. And if you have questions or thoughts, even after you see this, well, you can always email us, LakersFastBreak@yahoo.com, or put your comments below. I do read them. I do get to them as best I can, as soon as I can. And I'm always thankful for them because I'm always thankful for you watching and listening to us, as always, right here on the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.